Lately on YouTube, there's been a surge in people making content from their cars. Just turn the camera on, flip the camera to the front-facing camera, and start yapping. It's been a pretty successful strategy for gaining traction on YouTube. There is also the added addition of most of that content being doomer type, which is a good way to rack up the views today. Economy's cooked, people want to cope, so it makes sense. I had talked about this in earlier videos. So I'm only at around 2,120 subscribers at the time of writing this script. Actually, update, this script was started ages ago. I now have around 2,280, continuing on. And people who've just started their channel already have more subs than me. So if you can't beat them, join them, right, Kevin Durant? So why don't I just join in with this type of content? It would be so much easier. No more writing scripts, no more edits with Microsoft Clipchamp, which always has issues crashing halfway through making a video. It'd be so much easier to just turn on the camera and start yapping. It'd be a much more efficient way of getting out content, and people like it too. I've seen comments saying that they like the personability of these types of videos. I've had people think that I'm an AI voiceover before. No, I just use some filter on my recording so it blocks any outside noise, and it, by extension, makes me sound better. Since I record all of my voiceovers in my car, since I currently live at home with my parents, the house is busy, and I also don't want them knowing about my channel, so I go into my car for privacy. But even then you still have people walking around, dogs barking, birds chirping, so I use the filter to remove background noises. A side effect is it makes my voice sound nicer than it normally does. Yet another update to this script. I now record voiceovers in my kitchen since I've moved into my new house. Moving on. Now, because of the fact some people think I'm AI, and people hate those lazy AI-generated videos, people don't subscribe, but they will to a creator who talks to the camera and is more personable. So why don't I do this? Why don't I turn the phone camera on and start yapping? It would make for a more personal connection as opposed to people thinking I'm yet another AI slop creator. So why don't I do this? Well, I have mentioned this in a prior video before. However, lately I've seen other people getting fucked over for revealing their face. Or I've seen people who never revealed their identity ended up making the right decision for the sake of their career, and in some cases, it very well may have saved their lives. Okay, yet another addition to this script. This has nothing to do with a recent Charlie Kirk assassination. This was in reference to some Blackpill content creators. I'm personally glad those celebrating violence are having their lives ruined. Fuck them. Hope you financially struggle for the remainder of your life. But yeah, this comment was made in reference to Blackpillers getting doxxed, not leftist nutjobs losing their jobs. Moving on. So let's talk about that a bit more. In this video, I'll talk about a YouTuber who's kept his identity hidden, and it has very well saved his life, which will make sense later. I'll mention another YouTuber, Wheat Waffles, who's recently removed all instances of his face being shown, even though you can literally just search First Man Wheat Waffles and you can literally see his face as the first video suggestion, amongst other videos he's done collaborations with. But I'll react to his reasons and why he keeps his face hidden, and how it has some correlation to my life. I'll also mention more on the whole safety thing, being able to speak your mind without worrying about negative consequences on your safety, or worse, your career. Okay, I'm kidding. I'd rather be alive than fired, but they're both still pretty bad consequences for simply voicing your opinion. Yet another amendment to this script. Again, this was pre-Kirk assassination. I may or may not address that unfortunate event in a separate video, but I will try to stay on original topic for this video, before I go on a rant about leftists. So starting off with talking point 1, around early 2024, a Blackpill content creator called Tails doxed his name by accident, and apparently people got wind of his face and socials from there. Apparently people were harassing his girlfriend too. Now, it's recently come to my attention that his channel doesn't exist anymore. Last time I looked for any of his videos was when I was making my looks maxing video. I went to check recently for the sake of using his account for my thumbnail, but I can only find an archive. So if someone can let me know what happened to him, I'd appreciate it. But my guess is he's getting doxed again, so he has to go offline. Okay, Gamification, big deal. He revealed his name and people saw his face. Other formerly faceless YouTubers have done face reveals before, such as Awesome Sauce, the Smash Brothers content melee creator.
I think the community will be adopting en masse soon enough. Something that'll never change though are good old-fashioned Awesome Sauce videos.
Or Benjamin, the finance content creator.
It's a question most entrepreneurs will undoubtedly ask at some point.
Or Dylan Does Basketball, the I wonder what type of content he makes creator. Surely it can't be basketball.
The year is 2010, and Kobe Bryant had just earned the crowning jewel achievement of his career.
So what's with the harassment of Tails? Well, He makes content around the whole dating and being attractive thing. However, a lot of his opinions aren't received well. Watch this. I just realized at the time of writing this script that because his channel's down, I may not have the reactions I want, but thankfully the archive actually has the video I'm referring to. So, watch this.
Schöner Tag zum Spazieren. Ich bin in Scheiße getreten. Bah, Mann. Bah.
As an advocate for a certain political movement, I support every girl that is doing propaganda for our goals, even if she is LARPing. There is a huge trend in Germany in which girls from Eastern Germany show right-wing symbols or make TikToks about supporting far-right parties. I don't think they are very well versed ideologically, but I still support it because it normalizes our positions. Unfortunately, I am pretty alone with this opinion.
So anyone who is right-wing usually gets more hatred online, since usually the unemployed people tend not to be right-wing. The unemployed people are left-wing, hence why they're more vocal, since right-wingers are too busy having a life, hence why they have more time to harass people online. Look at the recent riots in California, or at least recent as of several months ago. People are rioting during the day. Do they have work? Nope. Maybe they took the day off to do so, but I highly doubt it. Chances are they're unemployed. And his last comment, unfortunately I am pretty alone with this opinion. Relatable. Now the next part.
Before I start the next chapter, I have to mention something personally. I sometimes feel jealous towards normies making content on YouTube. Those two guys have a Formula One podcast. They can show their faces and nobody will ever criticize their looks or even mention it. They can have strong opinions and nobody will feel hatred towards them. I wish I would feel passionate about a different subject, other than lookism. I could just be a normal YouTuber with a few subscribers. However, in this community and with my political views, that's impossible. Showing your face is risky even for guys. We have seen it with Wheat Waffles, Postman, and many others. Even if you aren't getting cancelled, you will certainly get rated all the time. People in this community, including me, are vicious when it comes to rating people. This can't be good for one's mental health unless you have no flaws at all. This happens to men, but especially to girls. As I previously mentioned, I support it when girls make right-wing content. If girls are making content and it gets popular, other women and normies join the movement.
A lot to unpack. So first off, I too am jealous of normies making content online, but more so in the sense they can just follow whatever the recent trend is and trend jack off that. Well, more specifically, complaining online and reacting to TikToks. Like, holy shit, some channels got big off that. Extremely low effort slop. And yet, the masses love it. Here I am trying to give useful insight on many various topics in the game of life, whether that be your career, fitness, financial management, investments, etc. And nobody cares. People don't want to help themselves, they just want to complain. Misery loves company, hence why the TikTok whinging videos do so well. But in the case of Tails, he's referring to people making content about stuff that isn't as offensive. Like, I don't follow Formula One or whatever example he used in his video, but I highly doubt there are that many opinions in that realm that will get you targeted for death threats. I do follow NBA, and that can usually get quite toxic. I think I saw someone got stabbed over a LeBron versus Jordan debate. But usually that doesn't happen. I doubt anyone is going to try and dox me and physically attack me for saying that I think LeBron is the GOAT. I can't stand his political opinions, as I mentioned in a prior video, but that doesn't mean I can't respect his game and his greatness. The same way I actually enjoy Taylor Swift's music, but can't stand her political beliefs. But when your video topics involve looks, which people are obviously super sensitive about, your more controversial opinions get you targeted. As you saw in that clip, there are 2 posts on the looksmax.org forum from people saying they want Tails to have a game over screen. Now, I originally hated him at first. When I first saw his channel, I thought he was so full of shit. However, you keep an open mind, and eventually I realized he was right about a lot of things, and I've used his channel as a reference in some of my videos relating to looks as well. But for people to actually post on forums, specifically wanting him to have a game over, or even making up hypothetical scenarios of self-defense, shit's crazy. Imagine hating this bad. Don't you have some stuff to work on in your life? If I'm not at either of my jobs, which is now a 65-plus hour work week versus the 58 hours it was before, or the 10 hours-ish driving to those jobs each week, if I'm not there, I'm either at the gym, sussing the stock market, working on my YouTube channel, looking at future landlord stuff, hunting for cheap furniture online for my house. I've actually kind of already finished that. Looking at making enhancements to my house for the sake of higher rental income, or looking at other business ventures. I am way too busy to care enough to post about someone else game overing. So imagine Tails did a face reveal or a location reveal. He lives in Germany, that's all he shared. I've shared a rough location of where I live, but it's still way too vague for anyone to accurately guess. There's countless Woolies stores around my state and even in surrounding towns and small cities, so good luck finding me, especially since I'm actually moving my Woolies store when I move house, since the new store is closer to my new location. So even more good luck with that one, haters. Okay, yet another script update. I shared a video of my house recently, so I've obviously moved in. I said that before actually, and I haven't responded to this specific comment I'm referring to since I've been very busy lately, so I haven't replied to any comments in any of my videos in the past month or so. I'm literally just that flat out. But I did read this comment, and one of you guys left a very intelligent comment on being careful about my location. Smart man. Yes, I keep my identity hidden so I can voice my true opinions and keep things real, but what I look like doesn't matter if people roughly know where I live. Like, if they have an idea of where I live, they can just firebomb the house, like what happened to Friendly Geordies, or some other form of violence that is typical and expected of leftists. However, the potentially doxable info I had in that video are nothing to worry about. I recall the comment mentioning things like street signs, for sale sign across the road, the way other houses looked, and my home builder. Well, no need to worry, you can't actually make out the street signs I showed in the video with enhancements. The for sale sign isn't even there anymore, and you can't make out the details of the real estate agency who was selling it. Even then, they're a large company that operates all over my state, and the home builder I used is another large home builder who builds all across my state. So I appreciate the comment, thanks man, looking out for me, but it'd be impossible to dox me based off any info I left in that video. And even then, my house looks a bit different now due to upgrades, and my surroundings have also changed due to new houses being built, upgraded and whatnot. So I'm pretty safe. But back to my original script. But if Tails did, as in gave away his location, wouldn't you think he'd be a little worried? Someone online wants his head on a platter. Who's to say these deranged lunatics don't follow through with their desires? I'd be on edge 24/7. And especially because these people care that much, they obviously have nothing better to do. So they literally have nothing better to do than to track you down and destroy you. Now, a counter argument is, just don't have a controversial opinion, bro. Oh, good idea. Just regurgitate the same slop that everyone else online spews. That's a good way to not improve your life, gain other perspectives, and stand out from the other sheep. Let me guess. Instead of me saying what I know is true about life, how about instead of being so controversial, my opinions are now, every degree is useful, personality is all that matters in dating, house prices will definitely crash 80% in the next 10 years, being fat is healthy, and working a job/career is a waste of time and money, everyone should quit their jobs and start YouTube channels. Imagine I said that. I'd be avoiding more controversial opinions, but that's the same shit that a lot of people online spew. I'd be sabotaging people, all for the sake of me not being stabbed whilst I'm in Melbourne one day, since one of my YouTube haters knows what I look like online. I will talk more on this later. And the examples I used weren't really that, offensive, but I have a lot more offensive opinions that I will no doubt mention in future videos that would get me targeted. And last point for this little section, since his topics involve face ratings, it can get harsh. Nobody wants to be told they look mid. I recall some video that popped up in my feed the other week. I took screenshots of the specific comments since I knew it'd be relevant for a future video, but some dude talked about, the advantages of being attractive or some shit, or glow up in your teens. I don't know, and I don't care. But the two most liked comments on the video are these. Who told bro he was attractive, laugh emoji, and bro, you ain't ugly, but let's be honest, you ain't anything special either. Damn. Imagine thinking you're hot shit and then you talk about it on your channel and then the most liked comments are, you're not attractive. Ouch. Now, it'd sting a bit if I heard this, but ultimately that's not my experience. I did talk about this in a prior video. I look worse/uglier than I did half a decade ago, likely due to having a bit more of a receded hairline and aging a little bit, but it could just be due to being fatter thanks to a gym bulk I've done lately. But anyway, although this isn't the main reason for no face reveal, oh no, people online are going to call me ugly or mid, it can be a reason people don't show themselves since there are a lot of ugly mid people on the internet. But I do it for safety purposes and my career. Even if I don't get death threats, I don't want whinging leftists crying my employer because I misgendered them. So Teo's kept his identity hidden, and it's allowed him to have more authentic content, like me. If I revealed my face, I can't make any more videos on my salary. What if someone from my office job finds out? You're not supposed to share that stuff at the office, since there's a few people I earn quite a bit more money than, so it'd cause problems. You can't have sensitive information online like that be publicly available. I probably wouldn't do any more net worth videos if people knew what I look like. Why do people in my personal life need to know how much money I have to my name? I might still do shit like show my current physique, but maybe not. It's unprofessional to have pictures/images of your company's accountant online in his underwear. If I had a face reveal, I likely need to be more careful with this. And the worst part, I have to keep my mouth shut about what I've seen in the dating scene. Heaven forbid you insult fat chicks or single mums. I'm cooked if that opinion becomes tied to my face. My close friends obviously are aware I hold this opinion, but they're not going to go tell my company that's how I feel about things. But some hater-ass bitch online definitely would. I also couldn't share stuff my friends have told me either. A lot of faceless channels do this to share their on-the-ground experience, which I obviously also do, but I can't do this if my face was online. Friends might even become reluctant to confide in me, since I can share that info on YouTube and just cover them anonymously by saying, my friend said this, but if my actual close friends see it, they could be like, oh, he was clearly talking about Liam. I didn't know Liam had that issue going on. Another reason to remain anonymous. There's also this image he shared on one of his older videos. For anyone who's only listening to this video and not watching, the text says, you see, being doxxed as a Blackpill content creator is the worst, not just because autistic viewers will call your company or university, but also because of the mental torture. Yeah, legit. So if my channel involved basketball opinions or book reviews, I seriously doubt I'd have anyone doxing and trying to harass me and ruin my life. But when you have opinions on certain topics that trigger people, like your looks or politics, you open the door for this stuff since people get very upset. But even more so, when you share your accomplishments online, people who are struggling a bit/a lot in life have more of a negative mentality towards things and will try and burn you down. What's a good way to burn someone down? Well, you can dislike their YouTube videos and just not watch them, like what people already do with me, or you can try to sever their primary income source, aka their job or their career. Without my job or career, I'd have trouble paying for my house. Now granted, I could get another job later, but who's to say they don't fuck me over again? Or even worse, you can bring physical harm to them. Can you do this if you know someone's face, name, and location? Probably. But can you do this if someone hides their identity and location? Very unlikely. I'm not doing the best in life. As in, there's obviously someone out there my age who has way more money, more assets, etc. Chances are they had a lot more help from their parents and relatives if that was the case, but not the point of this video. But I am still doing substantially better than the average person, and I share my experiences and knowledge on this channel. Most of my audience wants to learn from my perspective, so they hear what I have to say, which is good. But a more pessimistic person will see, I don't know, a net worth video of mine and be like, fuck this guy. Let's destroy him. I'll call his employer and make up fake shit or take what he said out of context or show one of his more controversial videos to his boss, because that's what some people do. Instead of dealing with the person themselves, they cry to their employer, which is a bitch move. Unless you're a leftist celebrating Kirk's assassination, fuck you, you violent cunt. No one wants to work with someone who celebrates murder. Oh, boo-hoo, I misgendered you. That's not grounds for being fired, despite what you leftists like to think. Advocating for violence, though? Absolutely grounds for termination. Go cry about it, leftists. I'm still employed by 2 jobs in this job market. You mad, bro? So you simply avoid this by hiding where you work, where you live, and what you look like. And then when haters try and dox you, all they manage to do is rack up watch time and ad revenue for your channel, since they scour your videos to try and potentially find doxable information. So thanks for the extra engagement. I know I've stated the supermarket company I work for before, but Woolies employs more than 200,000 people in Australia, and there's a Woolies in basically every single town in the country. And if you try and call head office to get an employee fired, it'll go nowhere, and you'll be on the phone for hours before you can even get through. So if you try and get me fired from my wagey job, not only will you fail, but you'd literally waste heaps of your own time. Not that your time's that valuable anyway, it's not like you'd be doing anything better with it. But for your own good, use that time on working more, going to the gym or something. Instead of hating on me, try and compete with me by propping yourself up instead of trying to tear me down, which won't work. It's kinda too late anyway, since I already have my CPA and my house secured, the two main achievements that basically set me up for life. You're literally too late to tear me down. You should have stopped me before I got my house and my CPA license. Sorry. But either way, that summarizes this reaction segment to the YouTuber tales. Next up, Wheat Waffles. Now recently, the time of script, this is quite a while ago now, but recently he's hidden his face from his videos and removed his recent ones with him talking to a camera. Even though, as I said earlier, he's already shown his face, which is another issue with a face reveal. It's opening Pandora's box. The genie is out of the bottle. You can never undo a face reveal. But anyway, let's hear what he has to say about why he's removed his face from his videos.
And this also happened one other time. I arranged a date with this girl. As you can see from the text, we literally just arranged a date. Then 7 minutes later, she sends me this text. I've just seen your YouTube account. I'm definitely not meeting you. And given the fact that she sent it 7 minutes later, she definitely didn't watch the videos again. Now, what it comes down to is I'm not making these videos so I can have a crap life and you can have a good one. And I know that a lot of people have had a big benefit to their life, as I'll show later in this video with some screenshots and messages that I've got sent from guys. But what's less relevant than the content and the material is the perception. And the perception of these videos, even though I don't think there's anything controversial with them whatsoever, is a bad one. And people have this negative perception and it causes all sorts of problems in my life.
So this section basically ties back into what was said earlier. Harassment, even by association in this case, which will be talked about later. But Wheat himself said the videos have made his life worse. Imagine uploading videos for the sake of improving your life via the brand stat, or using it as an outlet/way to vent, or to make money, only for it to backfire and actually reduce your quality of life. Not a good move.
And in fact, here's the perfect example. So one time, I had met this girl, and we were chatting a little bit over text, and I really liked her. But then all of a sudden, one day, she unadded me, and I found that a little bit strange, so I sent her a message saying, "Did you unadd me? Guessing you don't want to talk to each other anymore." And you can see the screenshot on your screen now. She then says, "Do you have a YouTube account? My friend recognized it, and that kind of creeped me out." I said, "Yes, I do. I keep my personal life separate from it." She says, "I mean, if that's what you actually believe though, that's crazy." Then I say, "Have you watched any of the videos?" And she says no. She says no. But the premise of them are so misogynistic, which I find a little bit hard to believe for that last statement, because if you look at the titles of my recent videos, I don't think there's anything that constitutes that whatsoever. And for the most part in my videos, I'm talking about men. I barely even talk about women in my videos.
Lol, classic woman. Everything is misogynistic. Like what Wheat said, she didn't even listen to his opinion. So close-minded. But this is another example of what I said earlier. Do you think you're allowed to criticize a woman for anything she does? Well, I live in a first world country, so no, I'm not allowed to even consider questioning anything a woman says. And you're not allowed to imply she's wrong. That's grounds for termination. Example, the wage gap. The wage gap is misogynistic. This shit has been debunked countless times. Men earn more on average because men on average work more. And they're more heavily represented in a lot of high-paying blue-collar type roles like mining and oil rigs, whereas part-time reception workers are more heavily represented by women. I now make about $142,000 a year from both of my jobs due to a recent change in my routine. Okay, yet another update to the script. It's potentially closer to $149,000, and it gets closer to $200,000 when you factor in financial benefits from my new house. More info is mentioned in another video. This is well above the average in my area. Maybe if you live in a high cost of living city, like, I don't know, Melbourne, Sydney, Toronto, London, Los Angeles, New York, Miami, Berlin, maybe this kind of income is pretty standard, but it's crazy high income for my area. But guess what? This involves working 7 days a week, 65 plus hours in total, and that doesn't account for any commute time, which I have a lot of since I still live far away from anywhere and have no work from home days at my office job. One of my jobs involves a useful degree, and the other has all the hours worked at penalty rates, like weeknights or weekends. Do you think I went to one job and said, "I'm a male, so pay me well above the average"? Or do you think me working well over the standard 40 hours a week has something to do with my higher than usual employment compensation? Obviously, it's due to the fact that I work well above the average hours. It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a male. But you cannot point out this very obvious fact because that means you're misogynistic. So, gotta keep your identity hidden to tell the truth. And there's too many ugly dudes out there who won't say this to women because then they won't get pussy. I don't know, I'm not ugly, so I can kind of say what I want. Because I can just keep my mouth shut to the next bitch that I talk to. Well, I don't know. I haven't been on dating apps in ages, so who knows if it still works that way. But we'll get back on track.
And this also happened one other time. I arranged a date with this girl. As you can see from the text, we literally just arranged a date. Then 7 minutes later, she sends me this text. I've just seen your YouTube account. I'm definitely not meeting you. And given the fact that she sent it 7 minutes later, she definitely didn't watch the videos again. Now, what it comes down to is I'm not making these videos so I can have a crap life and you can have a good one. And I know that a lot of people have had a big benefit to their life, as I'll show later in this video with some screenshots and messages that I've got sent from guys. But what's less relevant than the content and the material is the perception. And the perception of these videos, even though I don't think there's anything controversial with them whatsoever, is a bad one. And people have this negative perception and it causes all sorts of problems in my life.
Once again, closed-minded, not hearing anyone out, but too many men are simps and will let women get away with this level of thinking. Back to the wage gap thing, I actually had this discussion with a feminist friend of mine a while back. She shared an Instagram story about the wage gap, and I told her it's due to the whole economics thing, men work more, women take time off. And this chick is actually hot, has a good job and has big tits. It's really such a shame that she's such a feminist. So, because she's attractive, she's not the type with coloured short hair, useless degree, works part-time and has so many piercings and cries about straight white men all the time on social media and also has a flat chest. So what I'm getting at is she's not the extreme radical type because she hates her life because she's unattractive. Her life is actually good and she's attractive, hence why she actually had a mature response instead of ranting back on how wrong I am and how I'm an idiot, misogynistic, racist, bigot, pedo, Nazi, fascist, and all the other buzzwords. So how does this tie into what Wheat Waffles said? Well, imagine you took one of my Is Dating Worth It series videos and showed it to some chick and showed her a reaction to me slandering fat chicks or single mums or women with no money. Do you think that's a good impression to have? Now, granted, I probably wouldn't last in a relationship with a chick who defended those types, but that's on her to scout out on the first few dates, not for some nobody on the internet to show her beforehand. Next part, Wheat says I'm not making these videos so I can have a crap life, and you can have a good one. Exactly. I don't share my useful tidbits on your career for free, when career counselors probably charge thousands for this information. I don't share my gym-related tidbits relating to either diet or exercise, even when online coaches don't seem to understand nutrition or human anatomy the way I do. I don't share where I get my juicy stock market tidbits from when you have grifters on YouTube and Telegram selling you private access to their Discord server, where they provide trade ideas. I don't share my budget tips and financial transparency so you can get ideas on how to manage your own money. And I don't share my real estate information. Well, I don't really have any real estate videos yet. I've kind of briefly just mentioned real estate here and there, but eventually I will. The information I'll mention, buyer's agents will charge you upwards of $10,000 for. Or worse, you could even miss out on ever owning your own property forever if you make the wrong initial moves. But anyway, I'm sharing so many tidbits online for free, which enhances your life, but I don't do this in exchange for a shit life. No doubt if I had my face shown somewhere, someone would have tried doxing me by now, which would drastically hinder my life. I'm not even getting paid that much for this. At least Wheat Waffles made a good amount of coin from his videos in exchange. Imagine ruining your life for the sake of a few $100 in ad revenue. Fuck that. And the last bit, the perception, he's right. There's absolutely a negative stigma with some of my videos/topics, even if people don't actually listen to what I actually said. So, if I want to be authentic, gotta keep your identity hidden.
And it's only now that I'm uploading videos with my face, I'm running into this issue. And the girl I'm dating now, as I said, she's been harassed 4 times. I'm not using that lightly. And one time, just to tell you what happened, she was in class, and for 45 minutes, a fully grown man, lectured her and was making all sorts of negative remarks to me, making negative remarks to her, and just belittling her. And it made her very, very upset. And I just think that this was so sad and pathetic. A fully grown man not having the balls to talk to the person that this is actually related to, harassing and attacking the girl that he's going out with as if she can't make her own life decisions. I can't think of anything more sad and pathetic. And if the person who did that is watching this video, I'll tell you what I'll do. In fact, I'm not going to tell you what I'll do, because if I do tell you what I'll do, this channel will be properly nuked. But if you're walking around, I'll be watching with eyes in the back of your head. That's all I'm going to say. Because I don't think there's anything more sad and pathetic than not having the balls to talk about the disagreements or issues you have with the person that the content is related to, but instead harassing his girlfriend, not once, but 2 occasions, when she's not said a word back to you, and she didn't ask for that. That's just disgraceful. And I don't want to have to deal with that. It's not fair on me, and it's not fair on her either.
Classic university professors, such leftist soy boys, those that can't do, teach. He can't even confront Wheat himself. He has to go after related parties. For 45 minutes too. Imagine caring that much. Remember when that professor said that Trump voters should be shot? I'll talk more on this politics thing later. But not surprising. Couldn't cut it in the real world, so they had to teach their craft. Now, in some cases, professors are at the tail end of their careers and they pick university jobs for the flexibility and nice benefits, but in a lot of cases, they sucked at their job in the real world, hence why they're not working in the field anymore. But Wheat Waffles is right. Imagine legit whinging to a related party on something that someone else said instead of confronting the person themselves. My brother works at a pub, and every now and then I get a message from someone I haven't seen in a while, and they're like, "Oh my God, does your brother work at this pub?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Now, sometimes they say, "Hey, I know your brother," like they say that to my brother, but often they just keep their mouth shut, since it's kind of something that most people won't randomly say to someone else. Now, what would happen if my YouTube channel was tied to my face, and now someone at the pub recognizes my brother, and what if this person is like that professor, a little whinging soy boy? Instead of going to my brother and saying, "Hey, I know your bro," instead it goes, "Hey, I know your bro, he's such an idiot, he's so wrong about this and that," and they basically start harassing my brother at work. Can he fight back? No, he's at work. It'd be like if someone came up to me at my work and started harassing me. What am I going to do? Fight someone and get an assault charge? My office is right near cameras, and the surrounding facilities/buildings/other floors in the building all have cameras. I couldn't get away with it. So, simply avoid this issue by not revealing your identity. Since, leftists are violent. It's all they know. And in my leftist state of Victoria, you can't fight back or you go to jail for life. Seriously, look it up. There's been a big hubbub lately of if an intruder breaks in your house and you fight back, you can get fucked over. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I'd rather be judged by 12 of my peers than carried by 6. And what this is referring to is I'd rather be in court, having 12 random people decide whether I should go to jail or not for killing someone who is intruding on my house, versus just being killed by the intruder. The problem is, because this is such a leftist state, you're going to have a bunch of whinging leftists who are going to sentence you to jail because you killed someone who was intruding in your house. So if I revealed my identity and someone has it out for me because you're a whinging leftist and you got nothing better to do, and you break into my house and I retaliate, I go to jail. So it's much easier to just keep yourself hidden. And also, the last bit of our Wheat Waffles little section, aggression maxing bro lol. He was getting mad, bro was getting fired up. But I get it. You can't let people get away with this shit. You can't just let them do what they want. They can talk all that smack and have no consequences. Fuck that shit, bro. Fight back. You can't get physical or you get criminal troubles that affect your ability to get jobs. Leftists can get violent because they don't have any career prospects or jobs. They don't care. But what I do with leftists, I just tell them they're an unaccomplished soy boy. It's my go-to retaliation. And in 10 out of 10 times, it's true. I've never had an in-shape, successful dude try and start shit with me. It's always someone I mog in the game of life. They're about 30 years away from their first house and have been struggling in the job market. Meanwhile, I already have a house and 2 stable jobs. I also have an advanced useful degree. My stock portfolio is beating the market despite not even paying much attention to it lately. And I have at least 2,000 people who somewhat give a shit about what I have to say. Need I say more?
So, basically, the reason that I'm not going to be uploading to this channel anymore is because these videos aren't worth it for me. It's not worth the headaches, the people in my life it affects, and even financially, which I'll get into later in this video too. To cut it straight, what's happening is there won't be any more videos uploaded to this channel. It's done. Finished. It's over. And it's not a joke this time. It's a sliver of 1% who are causing me these problems and ruining it for everyone else.
Yeah, so Wheat says no more videos, not worth it for him. If I was getting harassed, it wouldn't be worth it for me. At the very least, Wheat made some good amount of coin over the years as compensation. When you factor in costs like thumbnails, video editing software, microphones that I've used in the past, I'm still net negative on this channel, even after it's existed for more than 4 years. Financially, I would have been better off just working an extra shift or two that entire time at wagey job and investing that money / paying more down for my house. But I have faith this will pay off. The channel is growing, albeit very slowly. But it's at least a fun creative outlet for me, I guess. But imagine I did a face reveal, some broke unemployed dad bod makes it his life mission to dox me, and now I'm getting harassed in my daily life. Not worth making videos anymore. And now I've just pissed away a lot of my time over the past 4+ years, and I didn't even make any profit from it. It goes back to my videos on optimal routine and life is like a Pokemon game. With a business, like a YouTube channel, if it fails, you basically start from zero. It's a Pokemon Nuzlocke. One whiteout and it's game over. At least with stuff like my job, if I got fired, I still retained the experience and I still at least made a profit from going to work, which was also talked about in a recent video. Filling up your car and driving to work, great return on investment on your money. But if you were doxed, you may still run into troubles 5 years later, since an elephant never forgets and leftists are all fat like elephants, and you will still have issues. Just look at the times where they tried cancelling people for posts they made on social media years ago. So that wraps up the reaction to Wheat Waffles. Unfortunately, he can't unreveal his face, and I guess he's made enough coinage from his channel anyway, and it seems to still be a passive income source for him. Pretty sure he said he bought a house, so bro at least got something out of it. People like me would have not received anything good out of discontinuing our channels, since they don't generate anywhere near enough passive income to matter, nor have they made any profits in the first place. So I said Wheat Waffles bought a house. I swear that's what I heard, but based on a recent video of his, it seems like he's not running out of money, but kinda. It's like people like, oh, rent must be due or whatever. So I don't know if he bought a house. I guess maybe he's running out of mortgage money. I don't know, and I don't care. Moving on. Okay, next section, political opponents. Again, this script was written pre-Kirk assassination. Obviously, I'm not running for office, but that doesn't stop people from hating the other side of the political aisle. If you're a regular of mine, you are already aware that my political opinion leans towards the right, which obviously pisses off those on the left. Now, going back to the Tails segment earlier, the death threats. Which political side is the more violent one? The right, the one I side with, or the left, the one I don't side with? Gee, I don't know. Let's have a look at the following clips and see who's more violent.
Always ask me, don't I wish I were debating him? No, I wish we were in high school, I could take him behind the gym. That's what I wish.
I said, no. I said, if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
That you cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
President Walker, how do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
When they go low, we kick them.
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Please, get up in the face of some Congress people.
What a stupid son of a bitch.
Oh my god, something I disagree with. Let's cause as much chaos as possible. Or, a political opponent I don't like, let's try and take him out. Hilarious how the left copes about this, saying that the Trump shooter was a registered Republican, or the recent Kirk assassin was MAGA, trying to deflect the blame when we all know leftists are the ones who get violent when they don't get their way, like a bunch of spoiled toddlers. I had this back and forth with someone on X a while ago, classic leftists telling someone to kill yourself when they don't agree. And they're like, well, you guys don't provide any value to society, as in us right-wingers. He was talking to me. He was like, oh, kill yourself right-wingers, you don't provide any value to society. Bro, I'm right-wing, I'm not left-wing. You know, I actually do provide value to society. I'm a CPA, homeowner, future landlord, stock trader, YouTuber, gym rat, and I make more than 6 figures. I absolutely do more for society versus like 90% of leftists combined. And leftists are also unsightly to look at. They're a net negative on the government budget, let alone just being a misery to be around. But I don't want leftists to end it. Please stay alive. If anything, the more views there are, the better I look, lol. The more people who whinge about shit online and riot instead of going to work, the better I get in comparison to your average person. It reminds me of a comment I saw in some video of some Gen Z people whinging about not wanting to work, and a comment said, yeah, working full-time is wasting your time, drop to part-time. And a response said, yeah, sure, go ahead. You drop to part-time and I'll be buying another house. Relatable. And last point for this video, keeping your identity hidden is also a good way to not get touched by older men. What is blood yapping about? At my job a few months back now, some old guy comes up to me whilst I'm at my office gig and he starts chatting. At first I assumed he was like a business partner or something. Well, no, he's not related to the business at all. He starts asking if I want to come over to his house after work. I said no because I had an appointment, which I literally did. I had a Botox appointment. And I'm like, why? Like, why do you want me to come over? And he's like, I just want to get to know you better. So I humor him. I take his number and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll call you later. Now, here's my number already because before I realized he wasn't related to the business, I'd given him my number, since that's a common thing to do with business, like business connections and whatnot. Anyway, for the next month or so, he will not stop texting me every single day. He even called my company phone on a few occasions. Pretty freaky stuff. If you're just listening to this video and not watching it, maybe just come back to this section later and watch some of the texts I've been sent, let alone the voicemails. I'm not showing you the voicemails, but I also got a lot of voicemails. Pretty freaky stuff. Now, I wasn't like scared of him because I was at least like 10 centimeters taller than him. He's old, meaning he's at least somewhat frail, and that's not to mention the fact I have substantially more muscle mass than him. What I was more so worried about was him confronting me at work again. I'm sure I can weasel my way out of an awkward situation, but again, goes back to the defenseless thing at work. You can't do much when you're at work, since you're representing the company. It's like when people hit on girls at work versus a bar. Which situation is easier for them to avoid? Well, obviously at the bar. Why? Because they can just walk away or tell you to fuck off. You can't do that if they're at work. Same in my situation. I can't do much if I'm at work and he confronts me there. So those are all reasons why you keep your identity hidden. It basically keeps you alive since leftists only know violence, and it prevents you from being touched by older men. Now, you could just not be controversial or not share your successes and accomplishments online, but that's not for me. I have strong opinions and I'll share my journey. Obviously, that puts a target on my back, but keeping myself hidden removes this target entirely. Thanks for watching. That is all.